It seems to me that I was around here in the neighborhood of the public library about 50 or 60 years ago. I don't deny the circumstance, although I don't see how you got it out of my autobiography, which was not to be printed until I am dead, unless I'm dead now. I had that $3 and change, and I remember well the $10 which was sewed in my coat. I have prospered since. Now I have plenty of money and a disposition to squander it. But I can't. One of those trust companies is taking care of it. Now, as this is probably the last time that I shall be out after nightfall this winter, I must say that I have come here with a mission, and I would make my errand of value. Many compliments have been paid to Mr. Carnegie tonight. I was expecting them. They were very gratifying to me. I have been a guest of honor myself, and I know what Mr. Carnegie is experiencing now. It is embarrassing to get compliments and only compliments, particularly when he knows as well as the rest of us that on the other side of him there are all sorts of things worthy of our condemnation. Just look at Mr. Carnegie's face. It is fairly scintillating with fictitious innocence. You would think, looking at him, that he had never committed a crime in his life. But no. Look at his pestiferous, simplified spelling. You can't any of you imagine what a crime that has been. Torquemada was nothing to Mr. Carnegie. That old fellow shed some blood in the Inquisition, but Mr. Carnegie has brought destruction to the entire race. I know he didn't mean it to be a crime, but it was, just the same. He's got us all so we can't spell anything. The trouble with him is that he attacked orthography at the wrong end. He meant well, but he attacked the symptoms and not the cause of the disease. He ought to have gone to work on the alphabet. There's not a vowel in it with a definite value, and not a consonant that you can hitch anything to. Look at the H's distributed all around. There's gherkin. What are you going to do with the H in that? What the devil's the use of H in gherkin, I'd like to know. It's one thing I admire the English for. They just don't mind anything about them at all. But look at the pneumatics and the pneumonias and the rest of them. A real reform would settle them once and for all, and wind up by giving us an alphabet that we wouldn't have to spell with at all, instead of this present silly alphabet, which I fancy was invented by a drunken thief. Why, there isn't a man who doesn't have to throw out about 1,500 words a day when he writes his letters because he can't spell them. It's like trying to do a St. Vitus' dance with wooden legs. Now, I'll bet there isn't a man here who can spell pterodactyl. No, not one. Except perhaps the prisoner at the bar. God only knows how he would simplify it. I'd like to hear him try once, but not in public, for it's too near Sunday when all extravagant histrionic entertainments are barred. I'd like to hear him try in private, and when he got through trying to spell pterodactyl, you wouldn't know whether it was a fish or a beast or a bird, and whether it flew on its legs or walked with its wings. The chances are that he would give it tusks and a trunk and make it lay eggs. Let's get Mr. Carnegie to reform the alphabet, and we'll pray for him if he'll take the risk. If we had adequate, competent vowels with a system of accents, given to each vowel its own soul and value, so every shade of that vowel would be shown in its accent, there is not a word in any tongue that we could not spell accurately. That would be competent, adequate, simplified spelling, in contrast to the clipping, the hair-punching, the carbuncles, and the cancers which go by the name of simplified spelling, leaving the old thing substantially what it was before, only bald-headed and unsightly. If I ask you what B-O-W spells, you can't answer till you know which vowel I'm referring to. The same with row, the same with soar and bore and tear and lead and reed and all the rest of that asinine family of bastard words born out of wedlock and don't know their own origin and nobody else does. I ask you to pronounce S-O-W, and you ask me what kind of a one. If we had a sane, determinate alphabet instead of a hospital of compound, comminuted cripples and eunuchs, you would not have to waste time asking me which sow I mean, the one that is poetic and recalls to you the furrowed field and the farmer scattering seed, or the one that recalls the lady hog and the future ham. It's a rotten alphabet. I appoint Mr. Carnegie to get after it and leave simplified spelling alone. Simplified spelling brought about sunspots, the San Francisco earthquake. It has brought the vast industries of this country to a standstill and spread a blight of commercial stagnation and undeserved poverty, hunger, nakedness, and suffering, from Florida to Alaska and from the Great Lakes to the Gulf. Oh, Carnegie, old prisoner at the bar, reform. Reform. There's never been a noble, upright, right-feeling prophet in this world, from David and Goliath down to Sodom and Gomorrah, who wouldn't censure you for what you've done. And yet you have meant well. You have not been purposely criminal, and your simplified spelling is not destitute of merit. But I must be just. I must be sternly just, and I say to you this. Your simplified spelling is well enough, but like chastity, it can be carried too far.